Hi, and welcome to Chaos and Chemistry, a podcast focused on having all the chemistry and feel good you desire without the chaos and toxicity. My name is Legan. I'm a former counselor turned coach, and I'm here with my friend and co-host Max.
My name is Max. I'm a relationship coach working with people to improve their lives and their relationships. So this is our first episode. Very exciting. There's a lot of nerves going on, but we're doing it. This is really fun, Legan. I'm glad we're doing it, making it happen.
Yes.
Today's topic, really good one. Do you find that you've got a great resume, you've achieved all the goals in your career, but you still struggle to find love that actually feels good? And not only that, but love that is actually sustainable over time, right? It's not just on and off, just like a long, consistent relationship. How do you translate success in the workplace into success in love? Is it even possible? That's what we're discussing on this episode of Chaos and Chemistry.
Yes. I would think for most people listening, they feel like it's not possible.
Right. It is definitely not easy.
Yes, it's not innate. It's not an innate ability. There isn't an innate ability to have success professionally and then also know how to translate those strategies that you've used for success professionally into your love life, because love and intimacy, as we will talk about in our podcast, requires something different than professional success does.
Yeah. And, Legan, we've never actually been taught. What I've noticed in my work, nobody knows how to do it. We think we understand how love's supposed to work, how relationships are supposed to work, but there was never a relationship 101 course. We didn't teach, chaos and chemistry in high school. There's literally, nobody has ever taught anybody. I can't think of any class I've taken on how to be emotionally available to your partner. Who teaches that? Where are we supposed to learn that? Hopefully in your house. But if you had a parent like we did, who didn't teach that, it's like Pirates of the Caribbean. I mean, it's just no man's land. I mean, what's going on, right?
Right. It's like the wild, wild west. And you're just like hoping that you can have emotional intimacy while you struggle to survive. I mean, it's insane. Yeah. And most high achievers and people that are successful also have high expectations of themselves.
That's right.
So it's even more frustrating, I think, for us. I say us as, this kind of collective group of people. It's even more frustrating because we're not used to it. We're used to mind over matter. You want something, you figure out how to get it, and you get it.
Yeah.
But intimacy is so different. And so we're left even more frustrated and disappointed, I think, than most people.
Yeah. I think the bottom line is school taught you how to perform, how to succeed, how to be the best, cog in the wheel, but nobody has taught you how to love. So if your parents didn't teach you that, it's going to be hard.
Right. And the thing is what draws us to someone is chemistry.
Right.
Is that connection. And I think for a lot of us listening to all this really good social media self-help on relationships and communication, there's so much good information out there today. But I think for a lot of people, I know for a lot of my clients, they think that they either lose the chemistry, they lose the chaos, then they lose the chemistry. And so they think their only options are, choosing someone that really isn't lighting them up, that they don't really feel that intensity and passion with, but they think that that's the healthy option. Like, to have a healthy relationship, I have to choose someone where I don't really feel, warm fuzzies, or I have this toxic relationship that is just not working.
Let me start by saying that warm fuzzies, if you're looking for warm fuzzies, you're never going to be happy in life, because warm fuzzies, I said, what actually connects people together. I think the mindset, right, is like, if I'm in a career and I don't like my position, I, job hop, get out of it, use all these different strategies, search for validation somewhere else. But the same strategies that are successful at work are detrimental to actual love, because they're completely different things. And, we've been taught how to succeed. We have not been taught how to open up and love. And love can only be learned by loving, and unconditional love is only learned by unconditionally loving. So if you want actual love, you need to learn how to unconditional love. And if you're looking for warm fuzzies, that's not unconditional love. That's trading, right? You give me the warm fuzzies, I give you love, but that's no way to live life. And you're never going to be able to, that trade will never work in the long run.
Right. Well, and I'm really glad that you said that about in your job, you know, you don't need to unconditionally love your job. You can leave. You can barter. You can,
Yeah.
you can leave. You can be looking somewhere else and go where you're valued. And a lot of people approach relationships that way because the way they value themselves is success. So if they're not feeling successful in the relationship, maybe they feel like they're letting their partner down, or their partner is letting them down, or they just feel like the relationship itself is not perfect, then it's a real struggle to unconditionally love the other person because in their mind, it's a failure.
That's right.
Yeah.
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 Because conditional love would have the mind try to decide if it's good or bad, right? The mind is always active, trying to see if it like meets their metrics, But again, this is not a work. You can't let the mind take over. It's from the heart, and it starts with you of opening your heart and learning to love. So yeah, totally different thing, but
yes. Well, for many of our clients, it's hard for them to unconditionally love another person because they see unconditional love as almost being a negative. We've never, if you're high achieving, your value was very much as a child, I have no doubt, your value was placed on success, achievement, performance. And so you're probably ending up in your, late 20s, 30s, and you're smart, you're good looking, you're hardworking, and you consider yourself kind of a perfectionist. So you've got what looks like the total package, but your relationship history says anything but.
right.
And that can be a real source of shame for people that are high achievers because, they've got a failed marriage. They're failing at relationships over and over again. They're choosing the wrong person over and over again. And so there can be a lot of shame around what we're attracted to and what we are unable to create. We're attracted to chaos. We're attracted to that intensity, those warm fuzzies, all that stuff. But then there's real shame because those relationships end up being very unstable, chaotic, unsatisfying.
What do you think creates the unstable, unsatisfying relationship? Why does these people, I guess my question would be, why do these people, do they seek it out? How does it end up that way? What are actually the contributing factors?
Well, if you're a successful person, there's probably some attachment to challenge. And so you value a challenge. You were taught as a child, we're taught as children what to value. I mean, we don't just organically discover what we value. We might, to some extent, you may value creativity or you may value time alone, things like that. But when it comes to a lot of things in life, what is modeled and taught to us is what we value. So if we're a high achiever, there's some attachment to valuing challenge. I mean, the easy available person that really likes us, we don't value them.
Why not?
Yeah, because it's too easy. It's too easy. Like, like this person thinks I'm great.
So are we addicted to the struggle? Is this what you're saying?
Yeah, I think on some level we are. And so we take that and like you said, professionally, that works great because you can just keep moving up that ladder to, wherever. As you know, that it doesn't sustain happiness either. There's many people that have just climbed the corporate ladder and they're at the top and they look around and they're not happy.
Right.
Because
yeah,
go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to throw this out there. I think ambitious people are always going to be unhappy. I don't know if there's, my question is there an ambitious person who is actually happy? Because ambition in and of itself, if you really examine all the ambitious people in your life, it's basically telling you that there is something missing and I have to keep striving. So ambition means the goal is always in the future. Your mind is always strategizing, problem solving into the future. It's never okay with what is. And this is what I was talking about, the school system, like really screwing us up, because the school system teaches you to always be expecting something or in progress of getting something or trying to get the best grade, be the top. But in that ambition, you're never actually present. You're always yearning for something in the future. When you get that something, guess what? You're going to be yearning for something better. Oh, now that guy doesn't give you the warm fuzzies, or he's not as good. How can I improve this? There's no improvement that can happen. I mean, I think the idea that you have to improve something is the root of the issue. The issue, the work should be to be content with what is and start loving your life exactly where it is. Otherwise, I feel it's like an endless treadmill, right? Or if you're trying to fill the void, right? The what's next is the perpetual addiction to trying to fill the void without actually looking at where the void is. And the void is not fixed by doing things externally. The void is fixed by first becoming aware of that you're actually chasing something that no matter what you do, you can get to vice president, president of the corporation, you can have all the money in the world. It's still a hollow victory because you haven't filled the void of your heart. And ironically, when you fill the void, you'll realize you don't have this huge ambition. I don't have a huge ambitious drive anymore. My only drive is to love people and help them at this point. And every day it gets worse and worse. Like I'm like totally falling off grid because when I'm just going to give up the rest of my life trying to get more money, like bigger 401k plan, trying to get someone to love me, trying to get like a better partner, whatever. Why can't I be content? The question is like, why can't you just be content? Settling is like, I don't like what is happening right now. But I would ask, what belief system do you have that makes you think that you're settling? Settling is like a really ugly word. You're actually judging yourself very harshly by thinking you're settling. What do you think settling means in relationships?
I think settling, well, I think what it means to most people and then what it actually means are probably two different things. But I think what it means for most people is having an ideal or having an expectation, and not just for your partner, like he needs to look this way, she needs to look this way. They need to have, XYZ, kind of like a resume checklist.
Right.
And if they don't meet that criteria, then you're settling. And then you get in the relationship. So there's this fear of settling that's motivating a lot of people. So they're naturally just more attracted. I'm going to just go with the intensity and the chaos until I find the perfect resume. I'm just going to have fun and entertain this until I have the perfect resume. And then I won't be settling. So then though, they get in the relationship and then there's another fear of settling. So I'm in a relationship. I don't think I settled when I picked my person, like they're someone in a catalog. And now we're in a relationship and I'm also afraid of settling. I'm always, people are always looking for the problems in the relationship and asking themselves, am I settling? Should I want more? Is this okay? Is this enough? And it's a real distraction from what they all want, which is emotional closeness and intimacy.
That's right.
And you can't have it if you're afraid of settling.
Yeah. I think what comes to mind is the settling is fear-based. So you're making fear-based decisions.
Right.
And what I was thinking about today, which is really interesting, is that fear in and of itself, it's a projection to the future. It's not actually the present. When you fear, right? If I feel like being destitute and homeless, my mind is dreaming of something in the future, right?
Yeah.
It's not even the present. I'm not destitute and homeless, right? I have a relationship right now. I'm fearful that down the line, so my mind is in imagination, futurizing some very negative things. So you can't have fear without imagination. It's just that we've been trained and conditioned to imagine very negatively. So what I would think, if I was coaching someone, I would try to remove the whole idea of settling. I think that's a very fear-laden way to look at life and judging myself and others around it.
Right.
And start taking apart that belief system of that anything can actually be settling. If it's in front of you, it's meant for you. How about that? Nothing is wrong. The idea that our minds want to trick us into thinking like this person's wrong, this person's right, I should do this, like always slightly weighing things if they're good or bad, I think is the root of all misery. How about everything is perfect for me? Everything's exactly where I need to be. This is the relationship that is here. No matter how dysfunctional it is here for my benefit. It is here to open up my heart. It is here to, how am I showing up? To practice, The minute I start like settling and the fear comes in, I'm projecting into the future, you're no longer there. You're not even there for your partner. You're some other fairy tale land, right?
Right. Well, I think what you're saying is the fear of settling is settling.
Yeah.
You're settling
The fear itself is the problem.
Yes.
Not that people try to problem solve, because I totally get it. We're taught to problem solve, but it's not going to help you because your fearful mind will just problem solve it in the wrong way and keep you on the treadmill, making the wrong decisions because you don't have the tool set You're using the wrong tools for the trade. You're using your head, which is what people taught you to use, but you should really be using your heart. And the heart says, am I closed or am I open? Am I showing up or am I just making up a bunch of stories and judging this guy or the girl harshly, you know?
Right. I had a client one time, it was her discovery call with me, actually. So we weren't even working together yet. And she asked me, she said, I was in this toxic relationship for however long. And I told my therapist about it when I started seeing my therapist because of the relationship. And my therapist said, well, they weren't the right person for you. And she goes, what do you say to that? And I said, they definitely were the right person for you. The question is not were they or were they not the right person for you? The question is, why were they the right person for you? Because they're in your life, they're someone you're choosing, they're the right person for you. And if the relationship is unhealthy, unsustainable, dissatisfying, because all those things can be a part of a relationship, that nobody wants toxic relationships. But if all of those factors are a part of the relationship and you're choosing this person, the better question is, why are they right for me? So where am I a match for all of this, bad behavior?
You're always a match. I've never seen a relationship that wasn't energetically matched and that both people weren't toxic. Because even though some of the toxicity, like thinking in your mind, if I'm settling or not, that's toxic, right? You're in your head, you're judging, you're in fear.
Yes.
You may not even realize that it's toxic. This is why like coaching is so important, because you need to be near a healed person for them to call out the dysfunction in your thinking that is causing this. And it's not your fault. Like I said, you were taught at school to use this tool set to achieve, but now you're using the wrong tools for the trade, and it's causing you great misery, and you're projecting it like it's the other person's problem, not realizing it's your problem. You have to show up.
Right.
Even in toxic relationships, if you show up, it totally transforms them. Somebody's got to transform. You can change, and it can be miraculous for you if you actually allow it.
Yes. Yeah. And the truth is most people don't see their own toxicity.
Right.
Most people see the other person as toxic. Yeah. They see the other person as, I know I did not see, right? Because because we see toxicity as actions. So we think, oh, well, he's not abusive, or he's not verbally abusive or emotionally abusive, and all these like grandiose, extreme ways of toxicity aren't expressed in the relationship, then it's not toxic. But, toxicity, like you said, it can be a motivation, it can be a perception, it can be an expectation. I mean, it is so, there's so many layers to toxicity in a relationship. Yeah. And a lot of times we think, well, I go to church every Sunday, or, I'm a people pleaser and I don't like to rock the boat. Well, that's also toxic, because it's not, when we say toxic, we say something that is, poisoning the relationship. It's not feeding the relationship. It's not giving the relationship what it needs. So that's what we're referring to today when we talk about any type of toxic behavior. Is it a behavior that heals, or is it a behavior that harms? And people pleasing harms. So, it doesn't have to be these extreme behaviors that we typically define toxic behavior as.
Yeah. So what do you think, if you find yourself, you're listening to this podcast, you find yourself in one of these relationships, you find yourself very successful, but, struggling in these toxic, breadcrumby relationships, how do you heal yourself? How do you start the journey to heal?
I love that. I mean, truly seeing yourself as part of the problem, and not so much as you are a problem, because you are not a problem. We are not problems. We are, we are pure love. Our value really cannot be even described, or cannot even be described as human beings. But having the ability to go, just as you would in professionally, what I've been doing isn't working, and what I've been doing is perpetuating a pattern. And so at some point, you asked me earlier, what was it that gave you kind of the ability to go, like, begin the unraveling of who I thought I was, because I very much identified with this mask of achievement. And so that started to unravel when I turned about 35. And I hope for most people it happens way before then. But when you look at your life and you go, okay, this keeps happening to me. Emotionally unavailable and physically unavailable people, just, it's like I'm like a fly, I'm a fly stick for these people. I'm like, what are those things called where it's just like, I felt like I was like, yes, like a fly trap. I just felt like,
fly trap.
Yeah. And so at some point I thought, okay, maybe it's me. Maybe there's something in me that is unconsciously creating this, because at this point, this cannot just be coincidence, because I would see other people that had really good relationships or that were treated the way that I wanted to be treated in a relationship, and that seemed happy and that seemed content. And I thought, maybe it's possible and maybe it's me. And I think that's just the beginning of every journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Recognizing the pattern, that you are in a pattern and you've been on repeat for 30 years.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a beautiful awareness. I would say identical with you. I think the first step is awareness. One, recognize that your strategies that are successful in business, which are mind-oriented, which are, conquer, they're like, you're a warrior and you have to battle business to win. Totally get it. That's what is required in business. Are totally antithetical to love. Loveless. Love is helping. Love is giving of yourself. So Legan, I got a question for you. Let's say I'm successful, I have breadcrumby, difficult relationships. How would I know I'm in this exact same situation? What am I looking for?
That is such a great question. Perfectionism. And we wear it like a badge of honor. I mean, I wore my perfectionism like a badge of honor. And I have clients that do too. And they'll tell me, I'm just a perfectionist. And, they'll tell me about this person that they are attracted to. And they will talk about the other person's high achieving persona as something that really attracts them. And I just think, oh, red flag, red flag. And they see it as just this really wonderful thing. But what perfectionism really is, it's rigidity, it's fear, it's low value, and it's control.
Yeah.
And so those are red flags. Those are things that will kill a relationship. And so if you're someone that is perfectionistic, and I'm talking like little hidden ways, do you freak out if there's, shoes in the middle of your living room? Or do you have a hard time, if a stamp is a little crooked on your envelopes? Those things do not mean that you care more. It means that you've got some neuroticism at play.
Absolutely.
And so, those would be the main things.
Yeah, I would say the neuroticism is basically, if you're healed, you're going to be relaxed and at peace. The mind's going to be relaxed. You're going to be in a very peaceful Zen, really almost Zen way, because you're not going to be in your head thinking a lot about fears and trying to control and perfect. And it's like very tense, right? But as we heal, we become very relaxed. Everything's okay. It's all going to work out. There's nothing that's ever wrong. So the closer you are to totally relaxed, like a surfer on the beach or a long walk on the beach, that's how you know you're healed, because you can have your mental state is basically a long walk on the beach. If you're in a tense, everything has to be perfect. Why aren't they doing this for you? Why aren't you doing that? You're never enough. You're always looking. That's the extreme opposite. That's actually traumatized person.
Right. And I think, another important piece, Max, is there are many people probably listening that it looks like they've created what they want personally, in the sense that they look like they have the total life package. They've got the job, they've got the spouse, they've created it on a surface level. So maybe they've gotten married, they've built the home, they have, 2.5 children. But it doesn't matter if all of that exists. It will be a struggle to enjoy it. Because, like you said, the mind will always be looking for why it's not enough and where there are problems, because contentment means retirement. If you're professionally content, then you're not going anywhere. You're not moving anywhere. You just have to be okay where you are. And so a lot of people look like they've been able to create it, but really you don't know, because if there's not emotional intimacy, it will not be sustainable. Once, the children are gone, or the spouse doesn't have their professional life to identify with, there will be a real void in the marriage because there isn't anything there. It's pretty empty.
Yeah. It was built on a house of cards.
Yes.
It was
Yes.
built on the false coping mechanisms that we talked about earlier. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
It's a
Very much.
wonderful, I think healing is the best thing you could ever do if you find yourself in this situation,
Mhm.
because there's really nothing else worth doing than healing. Because like you said, you can be a billionaire, you can have all the cars, all the success, and you're still dead inside because you haven't found your heart. You haven't found
Yeah.
stillness. You haven't found being able to sit at the beach and enjoy yourself, because you're sitting at the beach thinking about Monday morning, and what you're going to do, and all your Game of Thrones that you're playing. Playing Game of Thrones in your mind is a terrible way to live. So you want to get to an equanimous mind, a peaceful mind, a stillness, cultivate a deep sense of everything is okay exactly as it is.
What is healing? I think it's good. Everyone knows they need to heal. It's, what does healing look like is so important. And then also how. I mean, you recognize there's a pattern. You recognize that you're a part of the pattern. You know that you've got wounding that is driving you to choose the opposite of what you say you want. But how? How do you heal?
I think the only way to truly heal, and the only thing that ever worked for me, is get yourself in front of a healed person.
Yes.
Because you don't know how off track you are, because it's the only thing your mind understands is what you've known, and what you've known is kind of dysfunctional. So where are you going to get the information? I think the biggest step is, one, recognizing that you're in a bad place, and two, having the courage. I'm telling you, it takes courageous people to hurt. I do a ton of discovery calls. You bring people that are like, their life is a disaster. They've created so much chaos and pain and suffering in their lives for themselves and others. And I give them the chance, not the chance, but I show them the way to heal themselves. But healing themselves would be a lot of introspection. It'd be a lot of looking at their own patterns. It'd be a lot of taking responsibility for themselves, and then they just bail out. It takes a lot of courage to actually heal. It takes a lot of courage. Very few people actually want to heal. They're okay in the comfort, which is dysfunctional, because that's all they've ever known. And to heal is really to step into the unknown.
Right. Yeah. It's so true, Max, and I think it's important for people to know that, because most people that are high achievers view themselves as courageous people.
Yeah.
They're willing to do things and take action where a lot of people aren't.
Yeah.
And that's something that's commendable. It definitely is. That is commendable, and that's courageous. But emotional courage is if you are able to emotionally step into courage, then what happens is your life, all those things that you've done up until this point, marathons, degrees, adopting, children that need homes,
So beautiful.
all the things in your life that you've looked at and gone, wow, like I achieved that. They become like, like 4 notches down on the pedestal post. Because
I had a teacher used to say to me, you could have everything in life, all the money and the fame, and you are bankrupt if you don't have love in your life. Because love is really the only thing that actually matters on this plane. You can get to the end of it with everything, all the toys, and you will have been bankrupt. So challenge yourself to find your heart, do the healing work, because life healed is a totally different paradigm. You may not even be liking you might have to leave what you're actually doing, because you realize this whole thing I've been doing, this whole construction, my whole house has been a lie. And I'm actually, this is the house I want, a loving house, a smaller house. I don't need to keep like torturing my body and mind to keep on this chase that will never find happiness. There'll never be enough on the outside world if I have that void within my heart. So the only path that actually works in life is the path of the heart. And you have to open yourself up to that.
Right. I don't know about you, Max, but when I started working with a coach, I was a counselor. I mean, I had studied psychology since I was in 9th grade, trying to prevent having the relationship my parents had. I mean, I was on a quest since I was, 12 to not recreate their marriage. And when I got to 35 and I started working with a coach, I was so lonely and was in so much pain that she could have told me to eat dirt every single day for the next year, and I would have been like, okay, like give me a
There it
fork,
is.
I'll do it. I'll do it. And so, not everybody's there, but
Yeah.
if you're close to being there and you're close to being in that type of pain and loneliness and desperation, it's really a good thing
Yeah.
because you're ready. You're getting
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah.
You're getting ready for it.
Yeah. I think the people that are really broken are actually way ahead of the people that are successful, because successful
Yes.
will just keep you stuck. It'll keep you stuck on that
Yes.
illusion that you've actually achieved it. And then
Yes.
you'll become so identified with your success that you can
Yes.
never break free from it. You're actually enslaving your whole life into this false facade.
Yes.
The guy who's totally destitute and broken is very close to healing, because he doesn't care. He doesn't want to keep the old self. He recognizes that's a
Right.
mess. It
Right.
created a mess in his life, and he's ready to let that thing go and forget about it completely. But the
Right.
person who has all the acclimates, everything, the big house, they might not be ready to let go of that, even if it actually means finding their heart and finding love. They're just
Right.
too
Right.
addicted to it. Yeah.
That's such a good, I'm so glad you said that. And a lot of clients, the truth is a lot of clients are so afraid of that. And
Yeah.
I tell them, I'm like, healing work isn't a lobotomy. You are still going to have your interests,
Autonomy.
your personality. It's just, you will be driven by something that feels so much better. We're not creating this podcast to achieve or to be famous or what. That's not our motivation. Our motivation is to have fun and to use what we've learned in our own lives and in our own experience as coaches and our own experience as clients, and just to help contribute to healing for people. And that's a different, you can look at people that are successful and think, oh, they're ambitious, but really what's motivating them? You don't know.
Yeah.
So you may have the exact same life. It just may feel so much different.
Yeah. It's wonderful.
The one challenge and takeaway I would ask anyone listening to take from today is really looking at what your definition of success is. Because if success is a feeling, you can have all the things, but if your relationship doesn't feel successful, or you don't feel successful as someone that is in relationships, like, that, on the surface you look great, but underneath in relationships, you're just this hot mess and toxic and doing all these things that really go against your values, then you're really not successful. And I think that's, we have to hold a mirror up to ourselves and ask ourselves, does my life feel successful? And why or why not? And then why not? And what can I do about it? Because this stuff, when we talk about healing and how to heal, the high achiever thinks, I just need to read more. I need to listen to more podcasts. I need to change. In the sense that, like, I need to lose weight. I need to make more money. I need to be prettier. I need to do that. They think that there's something on the outside that they need more of or less of. And really, I would say, Max, like the main philosophy that we both really stand strong on is that you don't need more intellectual material. This is not a test that you're preparing for that you are going to pass forever once you meet the right person.
That's right.
That's not how this works. And a lot of people are doing that, and it's not really changing their behavior, and it's not producing different results in their lives. And so they're just very frustrated. But the good news is it's not supposed to do that. So there's no problem. Again, you're just...
It's a great relief. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guess what? Yeah. You don't have to do all this stuff that you're doing. That actually is a relief. It might not feel a relief at the beginning, but you don't want to be carrying the load that you're carrying right now. And you said it so beautifully, Legan. I can't even add anything to it because I think you nailed it on the head. What people should be looking out for.
If this episode resonates with you, check us out on www.chaosandchemistry.com. And if you need help, book a discovery call with one of us. It's the first step towards finding lasting happiness.